Yes, good to know that you're still there this Wednesday morning or Midweek Connect. Yes, citizens sometimes echo their lack of satisfaction through protests, a medium to force the hands of authority into compromise. Again, agitations, protests, and confrontations of any kind have always been part and parcel of the Nigerian system over decades. Protests have also served as a means of expressing collective dissatisfaction, especially when done peacefully. It therefore becomes worrisome when a supposedly peaceful protest goes south, sometimes snowballing into violent protests. For example, the issue of NSAS protest in 2020 that happened in Nigeria, and it still left a bitter taste in the mouths of many. Its ramifications are still being felt across the country. There were other protests that followed before and even after that, and more recently is the Ekpoma protest in Edo State, which has snowballed into wanton destruction of properties and even markets. Now, many Nigerians are frowning at this development, and government is not also left out in showing they are not happy that a peaceful protest can turn violent. So this morning we want to bring holistically the issue of protest, peaceful protest. Then how can a peaceful protest go into violent protest, and the economic implications, even social implications of this menace. So this morning we already have a guest in the studio, the person of Sunday Ekerikeve. Yes. He's a lecturer in the Faculty of Communication and Media Studies, University of Benin. Yes, this is not your first time of coming here.
Good morning to
welcome, sir.
Everyone out there, and good morning to you, ma.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Happy New Year, by the way.
Yeah, same to you. Same to you.
Welcome. Yeah. Okay. So, well, we've already seen the my introduction, but we'll always have our backgrounder that ushers us into what we're going to discuss this morning.
Governor Paulo, who is unhappy with the level of damage, noted that protest must never be used as an excuse for lawlessness. Perpetrators must be brought to justice. Items destroyed include vehicles, chairs, and goods belonging to the Onoje's wife. Earlier, the Onoje of Ekpoma Zaiki Anthony Izoji Abumari II described the incident as unfortunate, as many protesters were under the influence of illicit drugs. Governor Paulo assured the traditional ruler and the people of Ekpoma that decisive security operations were imminent, stressing that law and order will be fully restored in the communities and across Edo Central.
Okay, that was part is like a unit of what we're going to discuss this morning. Good luck in Ine's report on the aftermath, and talking about snowballing, a peaceful protest going into violence, and this is one of that report coming from Good Luck is one of the actions, the effects of that protest. So, but we want to start from protests generally. Protest is the way people, speak they use one voice through protest to speak to the government about whatever they need, their aspirations, or whatever they feel that is not going on in the society. So what do you see protests? Do you have any historical to give us synopsis, to give us protests in Nigeria? I know of a bar riot, I know of bringing down to, let's not begin to talk about the NSAS, the revolutionary now, the Occupy Nigeria and all whatnot.
No, the truth is that protest is innate in man. In fact, protest started in the Garden of Eden when, after the creation, and Adam and Eve ate the first fruit, and God confronted Adam. Adam said, "Is the woman you gave to me?" That is peaceful protest. It's a peaceful protest. So the right to peaceful protest is the fundamental human right of every citizen. Over the years, there have been series of protests. People protest when they are agitated, when they are not comfortable with situations, when you are oppressing them, they are being suppressed, they are being marginalized, their efforts are being truncated. So that is when people say, no, I don't like this. So whatever you don't like that you agitate about is protest. And of course, historically we know that there have been series of protests, even that resulted from the slave trade and all that. Even King Jaja of Opobo protested against the British merchants that came to our waterlands. And of course, the Aba Women Riots protests, and most recently the NSAS and all that. We've had series of protests. But I think that most protests that we have are not, the problem that we have is that the protests are not well organized in such a way that hoodlums will not hijack it to begin to destroy lives and property, because you are protesting over something that you don't like, and you don't use illegality to correct illegality. So you should do your protest within the confine of the law. You cannot begin to say that you don't like a particular thing and in the process destroying things.
Okay, let's not go delve into the demerits or the negative effect of protest. I want you to still expand the need for protest. Yes. It may be in democracy, talking about you, because I know protests most times you can't talk about protest when you are not in democratic dispensation. So how do you think protest has really helped the citizens to get what they are looking for from the government?
Of course, protests is a way of expressing dissatisfaction over what people don't like. And over the years, we've seen protests as a veritable tool in bringing about social, economic, and even political change. These protests take different dimensions. There are protests that people express through writing on the pages of the newspapers. I did the work on the one editorial content analysis, where I emphasized that the battle against the third time agenda of the former president Olusegun Obasanjo was fought on the pages of the newspaper. Thunderous editorials were written, where organized features were written to ensure that it does not come for the third term. For the third term, no blood was shed and no gun was used, but just on the pages of the newspapers. And we were able to see reasons, and even the man in charge was able to see reasons, and he stepped down. So protest is a veritable tool in the actualization of the democratic norms and values. Even during elections, yes, sometimes we protest and say this is not how it ought to be. Everything is aimed at bringing about accountability, tranquility, bringing about transparency in the process, in the entire process. So protest essentially enhances it serves as a check. Yes, to
Check and
whosoever,
balances.
yes, to whosoever that is going to whosoever that is in governance, or to whosoever that is in a leadership position, so that sometimes when you go beyond your bounds, you are brought back to your senses, because like as I said, protest must not be violent. Protest is not just only carrying placard. Protest is not just trying to organize people. Even at our individual levels, we used to protest. There was a day I protested some issues, and it's just a peaceful protest. I just wrote something in a cardboard, went to the office of the HOD and took it up and showed him. That's a peaceful protest. And he saw it and he was laughing.
You alone?
Yeah, just I alone.
Okay.
Yes, I took it to the office of my HOD, and I just show him, like I wrote it on the card and I just show him, and he looked at and he laughed, and he started explaining everything and all that. And I said, okay, I know that you are not directly the person that is responsible for this, but you are the head.
Sent message.
Yes, I've sent a message, and he said he's going to reach out to the relevant authority, and he did, and eventually that issues were resolved. So there are ways you can protest, but it should be within the confines of the law.
So now, if peaceful protests has these advantages, the merits, why is it that sometimes government will want to thwart or try to stop even the planning or the protest itself, when it is peaceful?
No, the truth is that before we engage on any protest, especially when it has to do with the members of the public, there are steps. We must plan the protest. There are steps that one must take, and one of the steps is to notify relevant authorities. You have to inform the police, for instance, and that is also because hoodlums can hijack the process. Yes, the intention is not entirely a bad one. You just want to express dissatisfaction and draw the attention of relevant authority to what is happening in or around you, and it shouldn't be a way of causing more chaos, or a way of ensuring that people that are supposed to go about their businesses are prevented from doing so. So in order to ensure that people are not in order to ensure that the protests go on smoothly, and to avoid being hijacked by hoodlums, there is need for us to inform relevant authorities. We have to inform the police. The police have to give an approval. You have to state why you are engaging in the protest. And sometimes relevant authorities may not also approve of the protest. That is when it becomes a little bit difficult. But essentially,
so what could now cause or make the government to now begin to drag its feet when it concerns
sometimes
even when the protesters or the prospective protesters try to reach out to them or go through them? Hiccups?
No, most of the time they don't want us to speak truth to governance. They don't want the citizens to express dissatisfaction. Once people are there, they don't want criticism. Most of them don't want criticism. It takes a broader style of leadership for you to say, okay, I want transparency, I want constructive criticism. So if anything that we paint a picture of something that is ugly in relation to leadership, most of us, because of our mentality, don't want it. Most of us that are leaders, we don't want it, and it's not good. It shows that we are not broad-minded enough as leaders. So if it is within the confine of the law, we should allow it. So sometimes they want to muzzle the protests, the process of the protest, because they don't want the voices of people to be heard, and it is not going to do a very good thing to our democratic values and system.
Okay, sir. I know you in your opening remark you made mention of, you started by giving the history of protests in Nigeria. I know of Aba riot of the
1929.
1929, yeah, that historic Aba riot in 1929. Then coming down to recent, not most recently, really in 2012, we have occupied Nigeria.
Yes.
Revolutionary now in 2019. Before we now talk about the answer, do you think that all these protests then, I know they were, apart from the NSAS that caused snowballed into another thing, all those peaceful protests, do you think that the citizens coming together with the government achieved their aim or the objectives of going out for that protest?
Of course, there are some things that they were able to achieve. At least drawing the attention of government alone is an achievement. At least saying that, look at what is happening. Because if you don't say you are here, nobody will say you are there.
Yeah.
So there is need for us to sometimes cry it out. There is a proverbial saying that it is the chicken that makes some noise when the hawk came to take its chick. Now, when the other animals now ask, why are you knowing that you cannot even face the hawk? He said, no, it's for the record.
For the record.
Yes, that the hawk has come again to pick my chick. So, what hawk is doing is wrong. And that is just a peaceful protest. That is just a way of expressing dissatisfaction about the attitude. So, essentially, when we go into protest, we draw attention, and it is the attention that is the fundamental reason why people engage in protests. They want to draw the attention of government, and if the government is sensible enough or is sensitive enough to the cry of the people, they ought to look at the tissue of the issue.
Yeah.
Why are they engaging in this protest? And if it is something that should be done, then the government should be proactive and do something about it immediately. Because I also know that the task of governance is not easy. Yes. And there are some areas that you may be looking at the left and the right is is lacking. So somebody may also draw your attention.
Need assessment. This is what these are the things that people want. If they don't tell you what they want, you will not know.
You will not.
So let's talk about the disadvantages now when it comes to violent protests.
Yes.
So what do you have to say concerning that?
I think part of the reason why we have so many demerits of protests in Nigeria is because of our mentality. We have the mentality that we want to get back at government without knowing that we are hurting ourselves. When you destroy a government property thinking that you are dealing with the government, it is yourself, because it is you and I that is making
the government is finally used
to build all those things. So what would have the money that they would have used to channels to other things, they will not use it to build what we already have, and that is set back. So one of the disadvantages is that, of course, loss of economic activities. People will lose money, just like what happened recently at Ekpoma. People's shops were burnt and people were even killed. So we don't want. Life is so precious, and even in the commandment we were told that thou shalt not kill. But in the process of hijacking protests, a lot of things can happen that could lead to loss of lives, to destructions of lives, destruction of properties and all that, and even incapacitation, maiming of people. When somebody sustain an injury that is life-threatening, or that may not be able to get ratification in due time, then you are incapacitated. So the advantages is enormous, and of course it also affects our psychology. Yes, it affects our individualities, and it also affects our informed decision. For instance, if you give me some money to go to Ekpoma for one thing or the other, I will not go because of what I've heard about protests and all that. So I believe that place is not safe for now. So these are some of the disadvantages that go along with destructions of life, yes,
okay.
that as a result of protests.
Okay, sir, do you think this mother, I'll call it mother of all protests, at least recently in 2020, talking about NSAS, it started by gathering like a cloud that it wanted to rain. You understand, the youths were coming together using hashtag NSAS. By the time using the power of the new media, that's the social media, now coming together. By the time it now turned it. Initially it was supposed to be a peaceful protest. By the time hoodlums now hijacked it. So do you think that is the reason why a little thing it will now skyrocket to violent protests?
No, the truth is that I sometimes I blame our government. We have intelligence report when this momentum was brewing. They were aware, but they did nothing about it. One of the problems that we have is that we are most times we are reactive instead of proactive. You see, you have to leap it on the board. You already see that people are being agitated, so you address the issues immediately, even before it degenerates into crisis. In fact, that is what we are being taught in public relations, that we don't wait until there's crisis before we start putting things in order. We have to be proactive.
What the government have done, to make sure that it stems the tide?
No. What the government supposed to do when you experience, to start with, when there is an element of situations that we agitate or that may likely cause protest, you leap it on the board. For instance, you've heard that they've been kidnapping in a particular location. For instance, you heard that the security there the insecurity there is high. You've been hearing this report and all that. You've been gathering this intelligence, and you are not doing anything about it as a government. It can lead to a crisis. So as soon as you gather those type of information, you leap it on the board, because you know that if it continue, it can degenerate into crisis. And that is what happened in Ekpoma. Okay. You see, if before the entire scenario started, if the government has been proactive, even the traditional rulers, I'm not leaving anybody, if everybody has put their hands on the desk and say we must stop this thing, we must ensure that our land is peaceful and all that, by being proactive, by deploying relevant security agencies and all that, to ensure that the crisis don't continue, the killings don't continue, the kidnapping don't continue, the insecurity don't continue, then it will not result to protest.
Okay,
that's the point.
So you quickly entered the issue of Ekpoma and wanted us to, but now that you are discussing this issue of protests in Ekpoma, how do you see that protest and what it had turned out to be? It started as a peaceful protest, and students as a unit of the society also have rights to a peaceful protest, and at the end of the day, probably hoodlums now hijacked the process, and it now went south. So what do you have to say concerning this Ekpoma?
No, the truth is that the Ekpoma scenario is quite unfortunate. It started with insecurity. Okay. Yes, and I reliably gather as a journalist, also as a teacher, a journalism teacher, that some few miscreants perpetrated a lot of crime in Ekpoma by kidnapping, by stealing, and by doing other things. And people agitated. In fact, it accumulated to when some students that were also going to school were also kidnapped. I think quite a number of them were taken from an 18-seater bus. All those things are part of what accumulated into the protest. But I also think that I also want to commend the government, though before I commend the government, that is the issue that I raised earlier, that when all these things were going on, the government being the governor, being the chief security officer of the state, would have deployed all resources to ensure that it does not degenerate. Though we also know that we have vigilante people there, and that is where the traditional ruler should come into. All hands would have been on deck to ensure that these things did not go out of hand. But nothing was done until students were kidnapped and all that. And after that, then we are not trying to use the reactive measure. You see, and that is what I don't like. The government would have leaped it on the board. But I also want to commend the governor of Edo State. He has tried. I like the way he reacted when he visited the scene of the shops that were burnt. He promised that he's going to build the shops for them so that they can get back to business. I want to commend the government for that. And I also heard too that he has released some students. Yes, after a thorough security check on them, he has released some of them, and that is also commendable. But we don't supposed to be reactive to situation. We are supposed to be proactive.
Okay, we will have the government at every level. For our leaders should be proactive. You know, when protests like that is gathering momentum, though it behoves on the government or the whoever that is in authority to be proactive. So we want our viewer, you are watching, we are discussing peaceful protest that can turn to violent, and when it turns to violent, the effect, negative effect to socio-economic activities. We're using Ekpoma protest as a case study. So you can join us by calling this number 081 090 42 594 081 090 42 594. You can see it on the screen. You call, you make your suggestion, your opinion, or whatever advice you need to give to the authority concerning that. So, sir, talking about that Ekpoma protest, do you think that the students really went overboard? You know, trying to, because it was supposed to be peaceful, but they were the ones that started it before probably the hoodlums now joined.
That is why I talked about planning earlier when you're talking about protest. If you want to actually agitate for something, it must be something that is well planned. You must have exhausted even all negotiating principles and dialogue before you engage in that type of protest. But let's even assume that you've done all that. The next thing is to contact the security agency, and you tell them that you want to actually go on protest, and you also need their protection too, and essentially to avoid hoodlum being hijacking the process, so that even as we are carrying out the peaceful protest, they won't be able to hijack it. But from what I gathered, a lot of the indigenes, loved ones and family members were actually victims of kidnapping and other criminal activities. So they are already agitated. So when the students now came in, the thing has snowballed into violence. Some people are saying that it is the indigene that actually perpetrated those crimes that we witnessed in Ekpoma, that the students' own is just to engage a peaceful protest. And of course, the students have the right to protest, knowing that their school has been shut down for a while, no academic activities, and some of them were also kidnapped. So all these things accumulated into the agitation. But they would have planned it in such a way that no hoodlums would have been able to use it to begin to cause havoc. Because those things that you burn, the cars that you burn, you cannot, do you know how much, if you quantify them in naira, they are expensive. And you are trying to say that what the government is, you are agitating that there is insecurity, and you are causing insecurity. You see, so it is not right in a 21st century world.
Okay, before we come to the custodians, what's their roles in terming this tide of protest, violent protest? Let's talk about the parents. Where do they come in all this? Because if you watch the news, you see where the parents of those students were crying. So what could they have done, parents, in this issue?
Yes, I think too that parents have a very big role to play in trying to assist their children when it comes to some certain decisions. During the protest, some parents ought to have been calling their children even in school. The fact, you would have even asked the child to come back home for security reasons, because you know that you must be proactive. You should be able to dive into the future. You should also have to advise them.
So don't you think that if every parent begin to call their child home, by the time you know it, there won't be any protester out there
the essential
drive home their point?
The essential thing I'm trying to say is that the parents would have guided the children too, because I know that there would have been one or two conversations with their words. The parents would have called their children at certain things and would say, mommy or daddy, this is what is happening here. Then advice. Yes. So you advise the child that in case there is anything, please, this is the line you should toe. It will reduce some level of insecurity. But again, we also know that the road to freedom has always been watered by the blood of the innocent. If you not talk, you go die. If you talk, you go die. So it is, you cannot be a student that is learned and somebody is oppressing you and you keep quiet.
Okay, so how about what happens to dialogue?
Of course, that is
a round table discussion to now talk about, going through their SUG president or their students union government, then extending it to probably the dean of students affairs, to the vice chancellor, instead of just coming out to the streets to.
No, that is part of what I said earlier, that when all dialogue fails, then there will be something like this. We don't know whether they actually engage in these processes. It's possible that they have even engaged all these processes. They must have met the student union president, and maybe they must have also met the dean of students. Yeah, maybe all of them are aware. But if they are not aware, there is wrong on the part of students. Yes, to go straight into the street without passing all these processes. Protests should be the last resort. It is when dialogue fails, when negotiation fails, when all peaceful means in terms of communication fails, that you cannot say, okay, let's agitate, let's press a little harder, let's go a little harder. And like in our own case, academic staff union of university, you see the various protests that we've engaged. Yes, you see the various protests and how the government reacted. Salaries were even seized and all that. But eventually now, I think both parties are happy. So, but we should not wait till it gets to a time when we begin to count losses. That is the point I'm trying to make. So essentially, we should be proactive. Yes, we should be proactive.
About counting losses now, apart from academic activities that are already halted, even extending to secondary, primary, they're all shut down.
Yes.
So it's also talking about the effect on socio-economic activities, the markets that are born. So how do you think, because you're talking about the insecurity, you're also bringing insecurity.
Yes, that is why I condemn
hardship.
Yes, to the people. So that's why I condemn in entirety. Yes, I condemn in great terms, in a strong term. I condemn the arson and the various people that sustain injury and all that, the violent nature of the protest, because you cannot use illegality to correct illegality. So I condemn that. Look at the shops that were burnt. Are they the ones that is it the shop owners that are responsible for the crisis in Ekpoma? No. You see, so they are just victims, and it's not fair, because they themselves will also start to protest. You see, if not that the governor just intervene now by giving them that hope, the next thing is to begin to protest, and you are escalating the situation. So I condemn in the strongest term the fact that they engage in violent protests. I don't know whether it's from the student or it's from the indigenes, but violence is violence. That led to arrest and led to burning of even the king's house and all that. Those things should not be mentioned among educated and well enlightened people in 21st century.
Okay, so talking about this custodian of our communities, going to burn the king's house. You watched the reports from one of my colleagues, Good Luck Inaine, that put up there. So what do you have to say concerning that? Is it that he's also trying to talk about dialogue and also being proactive, because one may begin to think, well, when all these things were, the kidnapping that were happening on daily basis, why did that silence?
From my findings, the protesters believe that as a custodian of the culture of the people, the king or whosoever is called should have a human feelings towards his people by engaging not just in dialogue but by ensuring that security is tight. So they believe that the king did not do anything. Yes, they believe that when they were passing through these processes, all this insecurity and all that, the man was just in his palace enjoying his life. So that is why they touched his properties, they touched some things that belong to him. That might be the feelings of the protesters, because if you look at what happened, they attack the palace of the king, and which I also condemn, because you don't do that. Then on the part of the king too would have been proactive. I keep mentioning being proactive. Yes, we are hearing that there's crisis in your community. What did you do? Which effort did you put in place? You say you must come out, you must stick your neck out. It's your people we are talking about, and they cannot be king without the people, and they cannot be people without the king. So you must protect your domain, you must protect your people must be proud of you. But a situation where your people are not, they're having ill feelings, they think that you don't care about them, you are nonchalant about what they are passing through, they will not be happy with you, and they will register this infeelings, this anger by touching your property and by opposing you or by protesting. So these are the things I don't like.
Okay, I keep bringing back, mentioning, going back to NSAS protest. Where during that time police stations were burnt. So many things were, but especially government establishments. So do you think that's what is now causing a little violence like this? They will now, especially the youths, will now begin to burn down.
No. The truth is that when hoodlums hijack a peaceful protest, the resultant effect is killings, burning, and all forms of criminal activity, looting. You see, people see it as an opportunity to begin to loot and get things for themselves and all that. You see, that is what I strongly condemn. You are saying that this person is not doing the right thing, and you are not also doing the right thing. You see, and that is why sometimes government deploy military might, and sometimes when this happens, we now say the government is killing us. So we must strike a balance. You understand? Yes, we must strike a balance between our agitations and the way to go about it, and how the government should also perceive us in such a way that both sides will not fall short of the law.
Okay, so I know that most people, the perception coming from the society is that many people are trying to politicize the whole thing, talking about the arrest of the 52 students, and yesterday the governor has just waded in that if anybody that is a student among them will be released without any conditions. So how do you see some of these issues when it comes up? You see so many people, stakeholders coming to use it as a politics.
No, the truth is that I saw the reports of the governor when he said that the opposition or some political element may have hijacked the Ekpoma process. Ekpoma is not the only town that we have in Edo State. I don't know what is so special in Ekpoma. I read in the social media that it's a Russian-based person from Edo State that is causing this problem, that is trying to fuel this crisis. Now, if you have those intelligence before now, why did you not leap it on the board? That is also the part of the proactiveness I'm talking about. So he might have his own source. Yes, I'm not disputing what he has said, but in my opinion, my candid opinion is that the government would have been proactive. You so all that he's saying are all reactive.
Hello. Sorry, we've been trying to get we have very bad net. That's why I want to quickly get this caller. Hello, your name and where you're calling from, please. Hello.
Okay, hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma.
Quickly, we are rounding off. Are you calling based on this discussion? Hello.
Okay. Yeah. I want to contribute to what you guys are talking there.
Yeah.
Okay, we're talking about violence, protests, and how it affects socioeconomic activities.
Yes, I want to contribute to what is going on there. My name is Mrs. Eval. I'm calling you from Country Home.
Okay.
Yes. Well, it's quite unfortunate that a protest that was supposed to be peaceful with their different issues resolved turn into violence, which is not actually good. And then secondly, I want to say destroying those properties and lives and shops and water, it's unnecessary, it's uncalled for. Okay, take for instance, what if a petty trader that is managing a little business, maybe his or her shop was part of the ones that were burned? How is that person going to cope mentally with his or her child? Because such a thing, it can crumble a person's business.
Thank you.
And then what I want to say too is, if a protest is actually on, I believe that the government should organize securities, like a body that can be part of the protest, so that things like this won't happen again. So that the protest can be peaceful and whatever they intend to achieve will be gotten.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
thank you. All right, thank you for calling. Why I picked it, we don't have a leisure of time anymore. In fact, we are rounding off now. It's because I think there's a very bad network, so people have been trying to call. So I just said, let me take it. So you heard what she said. Just
my
less than
take,
1 minute.
Yes, my last take is that government should not allow citizens to be agitated before they settle them. Yes, the government should be proactive. They should be sensitive to the people that they are ruling, that they are governing. They should be sensitive to them, and citizens on their part should ensure that they should employ legitimate means of resolving issues through peaceful protests, not destruction of lives and property. That is my take.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time coming to we really appreciate your insight in this discussion this morning. Viewer out there, we thank you also for your time. You have heard it. Government should be proactive, and we the citizens, we also have roles to also play in this. Don't avoid. You have the right to protest. That's your constitutional right, but you don't have the right for violent protest. So it's something that everybody should come together. All hands must be on deck to make sure that whatever we need from the government, we'll seek it through peaceful protest and not trying to be destructive. Thank you for being part of this discussion this morning. We look forward to seeing you next Wednesday when we come with another interesting topic. Till then, bye for now.